The best way to listen to the best of the week is on the Relevant Radio app, free and always free. Download and share the #1 free Catholic app today in the App Store.
Lent is supposed to be a time of simplicity when we focus on prayer, fasting, and almsgiving. We usually give up something and make some small sacrifices, but how can we tackle this liturgical season of Lent without feeling overwhelmed? That is the big question here this morning. Joining us from New Hampshire is Morning Air contributor Danielle Bean to share some practical ideas on being deliberate about setting aside some time to talk about how to approach Lent without feeling overwhelmed. Popular speaker on a variety of subjects related to Catholic family life, Danielle has been married to her husband Dan for nearly 30 years, and together they have 8 children. Good morning, Danielle. Thanks so much for joining us. It's great to be with you once again as we get ready for Lent.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is a great time of year. I'm kind of focusing on a simple approach to Lent, and I think this is something we all need a reminder of, because so many times the temptation as we're making our plans for Lent is to kind of turn it into maybe like a New Year's resolution style overhaul of my entire life, including especially focused on our spiritual lives. And I have found in my own experience and with my kids and with my husband through the years that sometimes when we do that, we're setting ourselves up for discouragement. We're setting ourselves up to feel overwhelmed. It seems like there's many good ideas.
There's a gazillion ideas. It can be overwhelming when you think about it.
It can. And so I want to encourage people to think about keeping it simple. How can you keep it simple? How can you hold yourself back when you find yourself starting to think that you need to do all of those things? So really just focusing on those basic tenets of Lent, prayer, fasting, and almsgiving, I think is a great way to keep it simple. And I've encouraged my kids to do this through the years, where pick one small thing in each of those categories and stay focused on that one small thing. So prayer, maybe you're just going to add one extra time of prayer in your day. Maybe you're going to add one mass a week or a rosary a week or something along those lines. I think keeping it small, it takes the focus away from ourselves, and sometimes we can kind of feel like Lent is something we're going to do and we're going to be great at it. We're going to really impress people or impress God in some crazy way. And that's not what Lent's supposed to be. It's an invitation to grow in our relationship with Jesus.
Do you think that is what our mindset should be? It's all about getting closer to our Lord?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we need to ask him. If you're not sure what to do for Lent, you need to ask him. Ask him to help you to discern what he wants you to take on this Lent. And, maybe spend a little time in quiet prayer, maybe spend a little time in adoration, and be open to hearing what he might tell you, because it might have nothing to do with all of those fancy plans. Like I said, we're never going to impress God. It's not about earning his love. We can't do that. So it's really about responding to an invitation to grow in relationship with him. That's going to look different for every one of us. But really recognizing, rather than Lent is some kind of like a fitness program that I'm going to take on myself to revamp my spiritual life, thinking of it as that gentle invitation to grow in love and service to God, then, that kind of changes our focus a little bit. And it takes it away from something we're going to do to more something that we're going to experience and an invitation that we're going to respond to.
I love that you mentioned the little things, Danielle. It reminds me of St. Therese, the little flower. She was the saint of the little things.
Right, absolutely. And I think she's a great saint to turn to, for example, here, because she teaches us that these small things really matter. Small intentional sacrifices are really more important toward our spiritual growth when we do them consistently than grand gestures that maybe are going to get attention or that are going to help us to feel good about ourselves. So really just small ways, looking around you in your life. Where are the opportunities for you to grow in love? Where are the opportunities for you to quite simply add more prayer, add more fasting, add more almsgiving in your everyday life? And it doesn't need to look fancy. Sometimes when we talk about almsgiving, we think about, I've got to write a big check, or I've got to volunteer at the soup kitchen in this, official capacity. And I would encourage people to, those things are great, but also look in your life, where do you have opportunities for what I like to call personal volunteering? Meaning personal relationships you have maybe with a neighbor who lives next door or an extended family member who could use your time and your attention, who could benefit from you spending some time visiting with them, making a phone call, talking with them, going to visit them in a nursing home or where they live alone. Find those people in your life. And I think that's so much more meaningful. And making a commitment to do something like that during the Lenten season is a great way to grow in relationship with God.
There are so many people in nursing homes that have no one to come and visit them. And I mean, even just a short little visit to maybe like a Little Sisters of the Poor nursing home, as an example, you could put a lot of smiles on the faces of some elderly folks.
That is so true. I used to work in a nursing home, and I've never forgotten it. The fact that, anytime there was a volunteer who came to visit, we always were able to connect them with somebody. Even if you walk into a place and you have no idea anybody who lives in there, ask to talk to the programs or the activities director, and they will connect you with somebody who could use your time and attention just sitting and asking questions about their life and, spending that time connecting with another human being. That's so hugely valuable to those people, but then it also helps you to grow in love, to grow in service the way that God intends.
A word on fasting, just a reminder that fasting is not dieting.
It's so easy to think that, right? Because we think, this is going to be my self-improvement project. So yes, I'm going to lose 15 pounds during these 40 days. Well, that's not the point, right? And you really need to check your mindset. Are you motivated to take on your Lenten fast for vanity reasons, or are you motivated out of wanting to love and serve God? And that's where that prayer part comes in, asking God, what does he want you to fast from? Maybe it's going to have nothing to do with changing your diet very much. It's going to be more focused on maybe spending less time on social media or giving up television in some way or giving up, idle talk or something like that you've got a habit of in your life. God can show you those places in your life where he wants you to do less of something, where he wants you to engage in less of something in order to make more room for him. Like that's where, fasting is really this superpower that we have when we combine it with our prayer. When we're fasting from things, we're making more room in our lives. We're opening ourselves up. We're emptying ourselves to make room for God to come in.
What about fasting from worrying, giving up worry for Lent? That's the idea of one of our regular contributors, Gary Zimick. I mean, that's something that anybody can try to do, to offer up and give up worrying about every little thing for Lent.
I love that. And Gary is fantastic. And he's so great on talking about especially that topic, worry and anxiety, which are things we all experience. And yeah, if you're going to be fasting from worrying, that might be just as simple as paying more attention to your thoughts, your natural thoughts, where your mind goes during the day, and learning to control that because you're the boss of your thoughts. You get to decide if you're going to focus on that thing and the way in which you're going to focus on it, or if you're going to use that little nudge toward worry to be a nudge toward prayer and just bring it to God. I heard someone say once that worry is talking to yourself about problems you can't solve, but prayer is talking to God about problems that he can solve. So you choose which one sounds more fruitful.
Absolutely. And speaking of prayer, which is really the other one of the three keys of this Lenten season, there's so much that we can do to talk to the Lord from the heart, to communicate with him in what we call prayer, beginning right off the bat with, trying to incorporate maybe just 60 seconds to do a morning offering, first thing in the morning to set the tone for the whole day.
Absolutely. I mean, that's a very simple way, and it doesn't have to take a lot of time. I think sometimes that's what gets in the way. We kind of set these lofty goals for all the time we're going to spend in prayer, and it begins to overwhelm us, or we get discouraged, and we fail at it in some way, and then we kind of throw the whole thing out the window. So starting with something small, I love the idea of just trying to establish that habit of a morning offering is a beautiful way to do that. There was one Lent where I established a habit of praying a Divine Mercy chaplet, and I actually used the Relevant Radio app because you've got those great prayer recordings in there. I had a certain point in my day where I was driving kids and I was on my own in the car for about 10 minutes. It worked out perfectly that I just kind of established that, like an anchor in my day where I was going to be focused on that one little prayer, and using the app actually makes it very simple. Something small like that can really change your habits and change your focus and help you to grow in relationship with God.
And maybe trying to get to Mass more than just on Sundays, sometime during the week if you can. And obviously, if you could try to do it every day, that'd be even better.
Right, absolutely. I would say look at your schedule at your local parish where you attend Mass, because many times these parishes are offering extra things for Lent. Maybe there's Stations of the Cross on Friday. Maybe there are extra confession times. Maybe there are extra masses or adoration times. Look at what is being offered and pick one thing that you can do extra each week. And that has the benefit also of you participating in your parish community in a meaningful way during Lent. So find a way to do that. It doesn't always have to work out perfectly. You might make a commitment to going to a certain mass and it won't work out one of the weeks of Lent. That's okay. That's part of what I encourage people to think about when they're taking on their Lenten challenges is how am I going to respond if and when things don't go perfectly according to how I'm planning them? God's invitation remains the same. So you're not going to have failed at it and you shouldn't throw it all out the window. It's just show up again the next time, be there and, make room for that extra prayer in your life.
Well, Danielle, we covered a lot of ground and really appreciate your encouragement here as we're just a couple of days away from Ash Wednesday and the start of Lent. Thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you so much. God bless you.
Many blessings to you. Danielle Bean. Like what you just heard, share it with your family and friends. And thanks for listening.